Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're looking at something
Oh, yeah.
kind of wild.
This is gonna be good.
It's this idea that the conversations we have with ourselves, like our inner thoughts,
Right.
might actually have the power to shape
Wow.
reality.
Yeah.
So
Big stuff.
we're going deep on this
Yes.
Neville Goddard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's suggesting that this isn't just
Yeah.
some, fluffy self-help concept.
Right. Right. Like this is some real
Yeah.
deep stuff. You know what I mean?
This is like next level stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's pretty fascinating, right? The source kind of dives into this whole idea that our thoughts are like more than
Yeah.
just these fleeting things. They're like blueprints,
Okay.
shaping the world around us.
I'm intrigued, but I'm also like a little skeptical.
Sure.
How can something as simple as our thoughts really have that much power?
Well, Texto Pagado uses this great analogy.
Okay.
It says thoughts are like seeds that we plant in our subconscious mind.
Okay.
Every thought, every belief
Yeah.
plants a seed,
Hmm.
and those seeds grow into our reality.
I get the analogy, but isn't that a little simplistic? Like, if I think about winning the lottery, am I suddenly going to be a millionaire?
Well, not necessarily,
Sure.
but the source isn't saying it's about wishing for something and then having it just magically appear.
Right.
It's more about how our thoughts
Oh.
influence our actions, our perceptions,
Yeah.
even how we interact with other people.
Okay, so it's more nuanced than just
Way more.
think positive and good things will happen.
Yeah.
Got it.
You got it.
It's not quite that simple.
Give me an example, something concrete.
Okay, so Texta Pagado actually shares this really interesting story
Okay.
about a woman
Mm-hmm.
who had a terrible relationship with her boss.
Oof.
She was constantly thinking these negative thoughts about him,
Yeah.
telling herself he was unfair,
Right.
unappreciative,
Yeah.
and surprise, surprise, their relationship was a mess. Oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Right.
We've all had those colleagues or bosses
my
who
God.
just bring out the worst in us.
Absolutely. But here's the interesting part.
Okay.
This woman decided to try something different.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on all the negative aspects of her boss,
Uh-huh.
she started changing her inner dialogue.
Yeah.
She started imagining him praising her work, being supportive, being fair.
Hold on. So she was basically pretending, like creating this whole fantasy world in her head?
Not exactly pretending.
Okay.
It was more about like shifting her focus, her
Okay.
expectations.
Okay.
And get this, things that actually started to change in their relationship.
Mm.
Her boss started acting differently towards her,
Really?
becoming more supportive and appreciative.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty compelling.
Right.
But is that because he actually changed or because she changed how she perceived him?
That's a great question.
Like maybe her new positive attitude made her act differently towards him,
Uh-huh.
which then influenced his behavior.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's something Texto Pagado acknowledges.
Okay.
It's not always clear-cut
Right.
cause and effect.
Yeah.
It might have been a combination of both.
Sure.
But the point is her internal shift. Her change in inner dialogue had a tangible effect on
Yeah.
her external reality.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like when you go into a situation expecting the worst, you often end up creating the very thing you were dreading.
Right. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Really?
But it's playing out in our inner world first.
Yeah.
And that's really at the heart of what Texto Pagado is getting at.
Okay.
This idea that we can consciously shape our reality by shaping our inner conversations.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
No.
It's about actively rewriting the script in our minds,
Exactly.
which is where this idea of putting on the new man comes in, right?
Yes.
That's a concept from Neville Goddard.
Yes.
I think the source mentions it.
Exactly. Neville Goddard suggests that by consistently imagining ourselves as the ideal version we want to be,
Uh-huh.
we can actually shift our reality to align with that vision.
Okay.
He calls this process putting on the new man.
Got it.
It's like we're stepping into a new role, a new identity, and
Right.
our inner world starts to reflect that.
So this sounds like it requires some serious commitment and effort.
It does.
You can't just wish for a better life and expect it to magically materialize.
No magic bullets here.
So how does Texto Pagado suggest we actually go about changing our inner conversations?
Well, it outlines a few key techniques.
Okay.
First, it emphasizes the importance of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
You need to define exactly what you want.
Okay.
Not just like vague desires,
Yeah.
but a clear vision of the life you want to create.
Okay, so step one,
Step one, get specific.
get specific.
What's next?
Then it gets into the power of visualization.
Okay.
This isn't just daydreaming.
Right.
This is about actively imagining yourself living the life you desire.
Texto pagado even includes a specific visualization exercise.
Oh, wow.
Where you imagine having a conversation with a friend about how you've already achieved your goals.
Interesting.
You feel the emotions, you see the details, you embody the experience in your mind.
So you're tricking your brain into believing it's already happened.
In a way, yes.
I can see how that might start to shift your mindset and actions.
It can.
What else does the source suggest?
Well, it also talks about the power of affirmations.
Correct.
Replacing negative self-talk with positive, empowering statements that are aligned with the reality you want to create.
That makes sense.
Right.
But what about when those pesky negative thoughts creep in?
Yeah.
We all have those inner critics
Oh, for sure.
that love to sabotage our best intentions.
Always there.
How do we deal with those?
Well, that's where awareness comes in. You have to
Excellent.
catch yourself in those negative thought loops.
Right.
Texto pagado really emphasizes this. When you hear that inner critic piping up,
Yeah.
you pause,
Okay.
acknowledge it,
Mm-hmm.
and then consciously choose to replace it with a more empowering statement.
I like that.
It's like weeding a garden, you know?
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got to pull out those nasty weeds
Right.
and plant something beautiful in their place.
Okay, so we're talking about a pretty active process here.
Very active.
It's not just about ignoring negative thought.
Nope.
It's about consciously choosing different thoughts,
Yeah.
different words, different images.
Yes.
It's almost like retraining your brain, right?
Exactly. And that takes practice. It's
Right.
like building a new muscle.
Yeah.
The more you practice positive self-talk visualization affirmations, the stronger those neural pathways become.
This is all starting to make sense now.
Mm.
It's not about denying reality or pretending things are different than they are.
No.
It's about consciously choosing a more empowering narrative
Yes.
and then using our thoughts, our words, and our imagination to make that narrative a reality.
That's a great way to put it.
So far, we've talked about how our inner conversations can impact our personal experiences.
Right.
But what about our relationships with others?
Yeah.
Can we really change someone else's behavior just by changing our thoughts about them?
Interesting question.
Texto pagado actually includes another story about this, right?
Yeah, you're thinking about the story of the man struggling with his business partner.
Yes.
Their relationship was a mess,
Yeah.
full of tension and arguments. It was impacting their work, their productivity, their overall well-being.
Yeah, I remember that example. It sounded pretty rough.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was a classic case of negativity, brooding more negativity.
Yeah.
But then this man,
Right.
he decided to try this whole inner conversation thing,
Yes.
you know, that we've been talking about. Instead of assuming the worst about his partner, he started consciously shifting his inner dialogue.
So he was basically trying to like reprogram his thoughts about this guy.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on all the things that were driving him crazy.
Right.
He started imagining him being more cooperative, more reasonable.
Exactly.
Okay.
He was essentially rewriting the script in his mind
Interesting.
before even walking into a meeting.
Wow.
And you know what? It actually worked.
Really?
The dynamic between them started to shift, and their business partnership, which had been on the verge of collapse,
Yeah.
actually started thriving.
Wow. That's incredible. But wouldn't that be incredibly frustrating?
Well,
Like you're doing all this mental work,
yeah.
changing your own thoughts and perceptions, but the other person isn't necessarily doing the same.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Texto pagado emphasizes that when we change our inner state,
Okay.
it often has a ripple effect on those around us. Think about it.
Yeah.
When you're in a good mood,
Yeah.
don't you tend to treat people better?
Yeah, you do.
And in turn, they often respond more positively to you.
Yeah.
It's like creating a positive feedback loop.
Okay. I can see how that might work.
Right.
If you're going into interactions expecting the best, acting with more kindness and understanding, it might actually encourage the other person to meet you halfway.
Right.
It's almost like you're disarming them with your own positivity.
Exactly.
I like that.
And that's not to say that, you know,
Right.
changing your inner dialogue is going to magically fix every relationship
Sure.
or solve every problem.
Right.
But it can definitely shift the dynamic
Okay.
and create a more positive environment for interactions.
So it's not just about personal transformation.
No.
It's about how our inner world influences our outer world,
Yeah,
including our relationships with others.
absolutely.
This all ties back to that idea we talked about earlier, the power of the word to create reality.
Right.
Texto pagado actually makes a pretty bold statement about that, right?
It does. It compares the creative power of our words to the biblical idea of the Word of God creating the world. Now, whether you take that literally or metaphorically, the point is that language is incredibly powerful.
I think we often underestimate the power of the words we use.
Yeah.
Both the ones we speak out loud and the ones we say silently to ourselves.
Totally.
Think about how language shapes our culture, our beliefs, our history.
Absolutely.
It has the power to inspire, to divide, to heal. It's the same in our own minds.
Right.
The words we repeat to ourselves become our beliefs, our limitations, or our possibilities.
Exactly.
That's such a powerful thought.
It is.
We're literally shaping our reality with every word, every thought.
Powerful stuff.
So if we want to change our reality,
we
have to start by changing the conversation in our heads.
Texto Pagado makes this really clear.
Yeah.
It's not just some self-help gimmick. It's about understanding that our inner world creates our outer world.
I see.
And mastering our inner conversations is a fundamental skill for creating the life we want.
So far, we've explored a lot of conceptual ideas from Texto Pagado.
Right.
But I want to make sure we dive into the practical side of things.
Sure.
What specific techniques does the source recommend for actually mastering our inner conversations?
Well, Texto Pagado offers some really valuable techniques. We've already touched on the importance of clarity and visualization.
Right.
But it also places a lot of emphasis on consistency. It compares changing your inner dialogue to tending a garden.
Interesting.
You wouldn't just plant a seed and then ignore it. Right?
Of course not. You'd have to water it, weed, give it sunlight.
Exactly.
Make sure it's getting everything it needs to thrive.
Right.
So you're saying we need to approach our inner conversations with that same level of care and attention.
Exactly. It's not a one-time thing.
Right.
You have to be persistent.
Okay.
Those negative patterns might keep popping up.
Yeah.
Those old thought loops might try to pull you back in.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to keep redirecting your thoughts. Keep planting those seeds of positivity and possibility.
Okay. Consistency is key.
Yes.
What else does the source highlight?
Texto Pagado emphasizes the importance of feeling. It's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about really embodying the desired reality in your mind. You have to engage your senses, feel the emotions, experience it as if it's already happening.
So it's more than just mental rehearsal. It's like full-on immersive theater, but in your own mind.
Exactly.
I like that it makes it more tangible, more real.
Right.
What are some ways to really tap into those feelings?
Well, Texto Pagado gives a great example. Let's say you want to attract more abundance into your life. Instead of just repeating affirmations about being wealthy. Imagine yourself having a conversation with a friend about how your business is thriving.
Right.
You see their excitement for you.
Okay.
You feel the pride in your accomplishments. You experience the joy and freedom that comes with financial abundance.
I can almost feel the champagne bubbles.
Right.
It's like you're creating a mini movie in your mind, complete with the soundtrack and special effects.
Exactly. The more vivid you can make it, the more your subconscious mind starts to accept it as reality. And as we've been talking about, that inner shift can start to have a real impact on your outer world.
This is starting to make a lot of sense.
It is.
It's not about denying reality or pretending things are different than they are. It's about consciously choosing a more empowering narrative.
Yes.
And then using all the tools at our disposal.
Right.
Our thoughts, our words, our imagination to make that narrative a reality.
That's the key takeaway here. It's about recognizing that we have more power than we often realize to shape our own experiences.
All right. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the power of inner conversations to shape our reality. We've explored some of the techniques from Texto Pagado for mastering our inner dialogue.
Right.
And we've even touched on the ripple effect this can have on our relationships with others.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier.
Okay.
The power of words.
Yeah.
Texto Pagado actually ends with a really thought-provoking quote about this, doesn't it?
You're remembering the quote about how our words are sowing seeds in the garden of our minds?
Yes.
That's a powerful image, isn't it?
It really is.
Every word we think, every phrase we repeat is planting a seed that will eventually bear fruit in our lives.
Yeah, and it makes me think about how important it is to be mindful.
Right.
of the words we're using,
Yeah.
both internally and externally.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally shaping our future one word at a time.
One word at a time.
Crazy to think about, right?
It is.
And it's not just about avoiding negative words or thoughts.
Yeah, I know.
It's also about actively choosing words
Right.
that empower us, that inspire us,
Yeah.
that align with the reality we want to create. So if we want to change our lives,
Mm-hmm.
we have to start by changing our language.
Yeah.
No more doom and gloom self-talk.
Absolutely.
No more limiting beliefs.
Get rid of them.
It's time to start speaking our dreams into existence.
I love that.
Right.
Speak it into being. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
Stuff.
And remember, this is a process.
Of course.
It takes practice.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating that awareness of your inner dialogue
Okay.
and then making conscious choices about the words you allow to take root in your mind.
This entire deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about some of the inner conversations I need to revamp.
Me too.
I'm curious, for all of you listening out there,
Yeah.
what's one conversation you're going to change starting today?
Yeah. Think about it.
What seed are you going to plant in the garden of your mind?
What a powerful question.
Right?
Because the reality you experience tomorrow is being built by the thoughts you're having right now.
We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to take control of your inner dialogue.
Take control.
Remember, you have the power to create the life you desire.
You do.
One thought, one word, one conversation at a time.
It's true.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.